It is a prevalent understanding, it is a prevalent stereotype that people have that teaching is a relatively easier profession. But it is not so, particularly when you teach at a very top-notch college as an assistant professor. When you work there, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. Teaching is also very demanding, and your role there as an employee to that institution is also very demanding.
Are you preparing for NTA UGC NET examination? If yes, then this episode is very important for all of you. Hi everyone, welcome to Chamomile Tea with Toppers, an initiative by Unacademy. I am Niharika Bhaktani, your host and an educator at Unacademy. And आज हम जिनसे मिलने वाले हैं वो है कैथरीन, जिन्होंने even after being married and having a cute little daughter and having so many responsibilities, she has managed to clear out her NET JRF examination. So let's welcome Catherine. Hi Catherine.
Hello Niharika.
So please tell everyone something about yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Catherine and I cleared NTA UGC NET JRF in the year 2020. I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and I am married and I have a daughter.
Okay, so please tell us that how much percentile you got.
Yes, I scored 99.83 percentile in the 2020 exam.
Oh, that's great. That was exactly my percentile when I cleared. Same pinch. So
Thank you.
It's really nice to hear that.
My childhood was in this little town called Neyveli. I had the best childhood there, and soon after my schooling, I did my undergraduate, my postgraduate degree, my MPhil from colleges in Chennai. And after my postgraduate degree, I cleared NET exam in the year 2014. And because I was keen on continuing with the career, though there was still, a part of me wanted to pursue research, I wanted to continue with the teaching career. So I worked as an assistant professor for a year and a half. I had to take a break in my teaching career following the birth of my daughter. And during that time, there were two options for me, either to continue with teaching or to use this time to prepare for JRF exam and continue my research, register for PhD. So it was during this time I decided to write the exam to qualify for JRF. I tried once in the year 2018. It was a failure, and I tried again in 2019. That too was a failure. So I gave up after those two attempts. And in the year 2020, the pandemic happened, and we were all, it was very uncertain times, and unfortunately we were stuck in our native place. And it was a very frustrating period. And during one of those days, I came to know about Unacademy, and I was curious to know about what they offer. And I was very lucky that I came across Unacademy in that way, because it was a pandemic and it was a very difficult time, but God's grace, it turned favorable for me, because as I was staying at my parents' house, my parents were helping me out in taking care of my daughter so that I could spend some time in preparing for the exam.
Okay, so as you told us about that, your schooling, your graduation, so I just wanted to know that how were you in school academically? Were you a brilliant student or average, or you were very sincere, notorious? What kind of student you were?
I can't say that I am brilliant, but I was a sincere kid. Okay, so whatever work was given, homework, I will always finish in time. My mother used to say that she never has to say that, come on, do your homework. But with my brother, she has to keep saying that. With me, she doesn't have to. I think from a very young age, whatever work comes my way, I will try to give my best. I make an honest attempt out of it, and I dedicate it with utmost sincerity. I try to complete the work. And I was also academically doing good. I will be in the topper zone, not all the time topper, but I will be in the topper zone in my school days.
So you were a person who who like to balance everything in life, like your work as well as your responsibilities as well as your studies, your career. So and I guess that helped you a lot while giving your NET JRF examination also.
Yes. I think, college days were one of the best. There you don't have any responsibilities. You just have to, they were the glorious period in my life so far. So soon after college, when I decided to go for career, there we had to juggle a lot of responsibilities. It is a prevalent understanding, it is a prevalent stereotype that people have that teaching is a relatively easier profession. But it is not so, particularly when you teach at a very top-notch college as an assistant professor. When you work there, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. Teaching is also very demanding, and your role there as an employee to that institution is also very demanding. So as soon as I started work, within few months I also got married, and as a wife I was also working. So yes, I had to manage. It was very difficult in the beginning, but with the help of my husband and with my family support, I managed to balance my work and my home responsibilities. But because due to some health problems in my pregnancy, I had to quit from my teaching career.
So when people become successful, everybody wants to know who has supported you most. Like it may be your family, it may be your friends, your teachers. So who was the most supporting person from your family or from your friends or anywhere?
It is very difficult to...
Who you want to give credit to, like most of the credit to?
Well, till my marriage days, till before marriage, obviously it was my parents. It was my parents and my friends. They were very supportive. My close friends, there were a couple of them. One of my friends, she was the first in our batch to qualify for the NET exam, and she was inspirational to all of us. And following her, 2 and 3 of us, we also qualified for NET exam. That was in my postgraduate days. And my parents were also very incredibly supportive of my decisions, before my marriage. Because there was obviously family pressure that PG itself is too much for a girl. Let her get married. Why are you making her study for PG? But my parents, they wanted me to go on my own. They were very supportive of me. Even after writing the NET, now in the NTA, after the NTA took over or so, the results are coming a little bit quicker. But when I wrote soon after my postgraduate degree, the results will take 6 months to come. So once I completed my MA and I attempted the exam, I had to wait for 6 months for the results. I wouldn't even know whether I would qualify or not. So I had told my parents that, but there was pressure from family. They were all saying that I have to get married soon. But I told my parents that I'm waiting for this NET exam. If I qualify, then I have a ticket to work as an assistant professor. If not, let me at least pursue for MPhil. If I finish that, at least I will have a little bit opportunity to work as an assistant professor. So they agreed to that. And they said, okay, fine, you pursue with MPhil. So while doing MPhil, in halfway of my MPhil degree, the results were announced, and I came to know that I qualified the NET exam. So I would say that my parents were most supportive, and soon after marriage, my husband was also very supportive. He knew about my aspirations, he knew what I liked the most, and he always supported and encouraged me. He would never question it, or he would never try to, change the direction according to his wish or anything. He would always encourage me in my own direction, and he would provide the most support. So I am lucky, I am blessed to have a family that way.
So let's talk about your subjects, your paper 1, your paper 2, how you actually prepared. Please tell us.
Okay, so when I set out to prepare for JRF exam 2020, I was very uncertain because I did not have my books with me. Like I said, we were stuck in my native place, and I did not have my books, necessary books, what I would normally rely on. I did not have that. And by chance, I came across Unacademy, an online platform. It was very useful. So I learned from Unacademy all the units that I covered, particularly for paper 1. It was very helpful. Paper 1 as well as for paper 2, my subject, which is English literature, I learned from Unacademy. They were very helpful. The tips and the strategies, they were very helpful for me.
Okay. So your paper 2 was English. Okay. So
Yes.
was English easy for you, or paper 1 was easy for you? How you managed it?
I cannot say both are easy and both are difficult, because both the papers carry 10 units, and in the 10 units, few units are relatively easier and most of the units are relatively tough.
Yeah, okay. So which units were tough for you, which were easy for you in English as well as paper 1? Would you like to tell?
Yes. In paper 1, I had, the theory part was a little bit, I was able to manage a little bit easier. I wouldn't say I was entirely comfortable with it, because learning about the ancient Indian universities and learning about a bunch of conventions in people development and environment, I was not entirely comfortable with it. But because it is theory, I somehow managed it. Okay, but I found difficulty in paper 1, the units of mathematical reasoning, data interpretation, logical reasoning. So these were the 3 units that were very difficult for me, and I was very unsure as to how I will cover the topic. But thankfully, Unacademy classes were very helpful. Your classes particularly were very beneficial to me. I should say that till before your classes, I will always skip all the mathematical questions. I would never try to attempt them, but with your encouragement and with the way of your teaching, I was a little bit motivated, and it gave me confidence to attend all the mathematical questions. So, and logical reasoning also, they never used to make any sense to me, but you made it sound very simpler. So these 3 units were my weak areas. But with your classes, they were very helpful for me. I was able to overcome. I made little bit notes. I maintained separate notes for that. Mathematical reasoning and data interpretation goes into one separate diary. Logical reasoning, another separate section. So I used to make charts and diagrams and tables for logical reasoning, so as to retain all the concepts. And for mathematical reasoning, I practiced the questions in class, and after that, from KVS Madan book, whatever questions that I can easily solve, I will solve it. And if there were any doubts, I would put that in the platform, and the educators will be answering them. The doubt will be clear. And for data interpretation, I tried to solve one data interpretation a day on alternate days. So one day data interpretation, the next day it will be reading comprehension, then data interpretation and reading comprehension. Each day one practical aspect I tried to solve. The outcome of that was, in reading comprehension, my final result, I scored 5 on 5. Data interpretation, I was only able to score 3 on 5.
So Catherine, you have beautifully told that your consistency and dedication worked it. That means now you got JRF after constantly preparing every single day and not giving it up, even in your weakest subject. That was really amazing. And would you like to tell all the viewers that how you balanced all the hard units and the easy units in your paper 2, or did you refer any book in your paper 2, like in your English?
Normally, when I prepared for NET exam, there were a bunch of books that I referred, and I cleared it soon after my postgraduate days. But for JRF, I knew that I need to have maximum score, and it so happened that when I was preparing that lockdown period, I did not have my books with me. So I was relying on online sources, like online platforms, study platforms like Unacademy and Google and whatever online books are available. I was relying on that. So I cannot exactly list out sources, but there are few books that for paper 2 English that are a must that one has to read. Like there are books of William Hudson, Arthur Crompton Rickett and William J. Long. All these 3 authors' titles, that is a history of English literature, it is a must. And Chris Baldwin's and Oxford Dictionary of Critical Terms, Raman Selden's Contemporary a Reader's Guide to Contemporary Literary Criticism. Now these, and Gina Whisker's Key Concepts of Postcolonial Studies. Now these are few books that one should always have in handy when they are preparing for paper 2. So there, apart from mathematical reasoning, data interpretation and reading comprehension and logical reasoning, the other 6 units were theory based, but they were also difficult each in its own way. Like for instance, communication unit may sound very simple, the concepts and the understanding part may sound very simple, but the questions that come from communication, if you look into the previous year questions, then you will know that it is a little bit difficult then, because you need to have a really good understanding of the unit, as well as you need to reason out the questions. You need to apply what you have learned, and you have to apply there in the questions to understand the question first, and then you have to answer. So some units may seem easy in a theoretical sense, but when it comes to answering the questions, it becomes difficult. When you take higher education and people development and environment, both are humongous units. I mean, they come with a lot of information, they are loaded with information. So the only way to tackle them is to methodically approach each and every subtopic, subunit, concepts, years and everything. The more elaborate detail, you dissect those units, the better you dissect those units and make separate notes accordingly, the better are your chances of covering those 2 units. Teaching aptitude and research aptitude, once upon a time they were very easy. I mean, when I prepared for NET in 2014, the questions from those 2 units were very simple. But when I started my preparation in 2020, I noticed that questions from those 2 units were also very challenging. The question itself will run on to 2 or 3 sentences, and each of the options will be another 2 or 3 sentences. So the time you take to read those questions and to understand that and then to answer is also very challenging. But learning teaching aptitude and research aptitude was relatively easier for me. I made comprehensive notes for them also. ICT again, ICT was also challenging. Luckily, my husband was a software engineer, so for many of the terms that I didn't understand, he will help me to understand that. And I made it a point, not on a daily basis, but at least weekly, twice or thrice, I will set a lot 2 or 3 days to learn about 10 acronyms, abbreviations from ICT. So 10 each day. So in a week at least I will cover 30. So in that way, for each unit one has to understand, at least this is for paper 1, one need to understand, there has to be a comprehensive understanding of the syllabus of paper 1, all the 10 units. That is the best way to approach for covering and learning the topics in paper 1. That's how I did it.
Okay, so how many previous year questions will you recommend, that how many papers you did before exam, or what was your strategy there?
Okay, when I started preparation for JRF in the year 2020, I came to know that knowing about previous year questions is going to be a huge help in my preparation strategy. And that I came to know only after attending this batch course of yourself and Shiva sir that happened in the last week of April. It was a batch course on previous year questions, and there the course was structured in a way where the previous year questions, the question papers were approached unit wise and concept wise. And that gave me a clear understanding of the pattern of questions, the difficulty level of questions, and which are the areas that I have to focus more, and how to learn based on the questions, based on the previous year questions. I understood how to learn the topics and how to retain the concepts in my mind. So previous year questions are a huge help, and I relied on Unacademy, their free special class sessions, as well as plus subscription, all the whichever the educators that I followed, whenever they came up with previous year questions, the class was on that. I would diligently attend all those sessions. And I also had a separate notebook for the PYQs of paper 1 and PYQs of paper 2. And I maintained the answers in 1 sentence or 2 sentences. So later when I was revising, it was easier for me.
Basically all the previous year questions also you did from Unacademy and paper 1, paper 2 also. So अगर आप सब भी चाहते हैं that you also get structured course like Catherine, then you can definitely check out Unacademy Plus. And if you are a new learner, then don't forget to use the referral code CTwT to get extra discount on Unacademy Plus.
मैं 4 साल से पढ़ा रहा हूँ। मेरे कोर्सेज में मैं सिर्फ आपको ये नहीं बताऊंगा कि क्या पढ़ना है और कहाँ से पढ़ना है, बल्कि ये भी बताऊंगा कि कैसे पढ़ना है और एग्ज़ाम को कैसे क्लियर करना है। मैं हर लेसन आपको सामने रख के बनाता हूँ। रियल लाइफ एग्जाम्पल्स और निमोनिक्स के जरिए आई मेक श्योर कि आपको हर चीज़ क्रिस्टल क्लियर हो जाए। मेरी गाइडेंस में हज़ारों स्टूडेंट्स ने ये एग्ज़ाम क्लियर किया है और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप भी ये एग्ज़ाम क्लियर करें। मैं हूं तलवीर सिंह। मैं पढ़ाता हूं पेपर 1 कॉमर्स और मैनेजमेंट फॉर NTA UGC नेट। मेरी लाइव क्लासेस देखने के लिए अनअकैडमी प्लस को सब्सक्राइब करें।
So there is a question from many of the viewers and all the learners about the time management, that how you managed an exam, like which questions you attempted, or you started writing, or you started marking from question 1 to 150, or there was some pattern which will help the viewers, that how you completed the paper.
So the exam day strategy.
Yeah, the like how you manage all the time in 3 hours, because some of the learners say that they could not complete paper, like they leave 10 marks, 20 marks, 30 marks, 40 marks, or they leave reading comprehension, data interpretation. So what you attempted first in exam?
Okay, yes, I made up my mind as to how am I going to approach the questions. Okay, so there will be paper 1 and paper 2. So it is up to the learners, the aspirants' wish, whether they can choose to answer the paper 1 questions first or the paper 2 questions first. But I chose, so that is a decision that one has to make up your mind firmly before you go for the exam. There, after seeing the questions, deciding I will attempt paper 1 now and then later paper 2. Now that if you choose to decide that way, a lot of time will be wasted, because as it is, the session 3 hours is packed with a lot of questions that will be demanding of our mental capacity. You know, you have to reason out a lot, you have to recall a lot of information. So it is better to decide ahead which paper questions you are going to answer in the first place. I chose paper 1. So I immediately, and that also it is better to, the first you choose which paper questions you are going to answer, and the next you have to make a decision whether you are going by the order or you choose to go by your strong areas and weak areas. We all know about the blueprint of the question paper. To some extent we can, based on the previous year questions, we will be able to assess that from each unit 5 questions will come. Now, not every time it is a hard and fast rule, but this is a little speculation that we can get from the previous year questions. So, if a person chooses to go by the strong areas first, let's just say ICT, research aptitude, teaching aptitude, if they feel that they are comfortable answering those questions first, then it is fine. But in that case, time will be also lost, because you have to search for questions of teaching aptitude, you have to search for questions of ICT, where higher education questions are, and then you have to answer. And sometimes you may think that your strong areas are your scoring areas, but not necessarily. Even in your strong areas, the level of the difficulty level of the question, if it is very tough, then and you choose to answer that question first, then you're going to lose time. So always go by the order. My suggestion is go by the order. If you take paper 1, go by the first question. Probably the first question will throw you off by surprise, as it did for me in the 2020 exam, because the first question was data interpretation. It just threw me off my game. But because I decided that I will go by the order, I solved the data interpretation questions first. The first 2 questions I was able to get the answer. For the third question, I was not able to get the answer. So I moved on to the 4th and the 5th. So it is very necessary that you plan ahead how you are going to approach each and every question. Reading comprehension, even if it comes in the middle of the answering segment, then you read the passage, answer, and then move on. So time management is very essential when it comes to tackling this exam. I mean, within 3 hours there are so many questions to answer. So I would suggest that try to wrap up the paper 1 questions, try to answer all the questions in paper 1 within 1 hour. And if there are certain questions that you're not able to decide, then quickly decide that now it's not the time to think over it, and then move on to the next question. By the end of paper, after solving paper 2 questions also, you can come back and try to give more time for paper 2, because paper 2, the syllabus is a vast syllabus, and the questions will be also very intricate. You need to understand them, whether you have to wonder whether they are memory based or whether it is logic based, where you have to use your reasoning. So the paper 2 questions will be very, very challenging, and that is the core part of the exam. So, and there will be passage analysis also in paper 2, and some other subjects will have practicals to solve. So a lot more time for the paper 2 answers. But you have to make sure that any doubt you have, you will know, your instinct will itself let you know that whether this question deserves the time now to spend the time to think over it, or move on to the next question. So don't get frustrated that you do not know the answer. Quickly move on to the next question. You can always come back and solve it. But if you spend time on that question thinking that, oh no, I'm forgetting this, is this supposed to be option B or option D, and if you spend more time on that, then you're losing your chances of answering all the known answers that will come later. So try to decide ahead, even before stepping into the exam hall. You have to be of a very sound mind. You have to be very strict in how you are going to approach the questions, and you have to make sure that you are in control of the question paper. Don't let the question paper surprise you and overwhelm you, and in that case you're ruining your chances of scoring good marks.
Okay, so basically you are trying to say that we don't have to sit and dream about the question ki okay, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No, we don't have to spend so much time. Quickly, if we know answer, we have to answer. If we don't know answer, we just have to jump on another question.
Yes.
Okay, and then when we don't know certain questions, that there might be certain questions, 5 to 10 questions, we don't even have idea about that. Then we can click on some options in the end, right? Like we don't have to leave paper, I guess.
Yes, just because we do not know the answer, obviously we are not going to know the answers for all the questions. We will not, even if you have 6 months of preparation, full preparation, obviously there will be many questions that will completely unnerve you. You will not know the answers to it. The best chances are to come up with the closest possible guesses, and you have to always answer them. Don't leave any question unanswered.
Exactly, because there is no negative marking, so we can answer all the questions. Okay. And like you used to give mock test also?
Yes, I came to, because I was largely relying on Unacademy for my preparation, I also came to know that on a routine basis for paper 1, Unacademy holds mock test. So I made it a point to write those mock tests. Even when I started, my preparation was at a very beginner stage and there were many units that I haven't covered. I still went ahead and attended the mock test, because the end result of the mock test is not about the score. It is about to let you know where you stand. Whether some mock test will actually leave you very happy because you scored more, and subsequently the next mock test will leave you very upset because you scored less. It doesn't matter. It will be ups and down. It doesn't, the graph doesn't have to be, on the rise or, negative. That is not, because this is not your end exam. The important aspect is that the practice counts. It doesn't matter whether you have completed the syllabus, you have not completed the syllabus, and you're not in a mood to take a mock test. Those are not excuses for any of it. The more mock tests you take, the more comfortable you are you're acquainting yourself to take the bigger exam. And you always learn from your mock test. You learn a lot from all those questions. So I would encourage the aspirants to take as many mock tests as they can on a routine basis.
Okay. So mock test marks are not the criteria basically. You mean to say mock test marks are not the criteria for success or failure. They are just for practice, for boosting our confidence. That's great. Yes. So we got to know so much about you, Catherine. It was really lovely. And now we have one more round with you. That will be a fun round. That is, I am going to ask you some rapid fire questions and you have to answer either in one word or in one sentence, and very quickly. You don't have to give so much time. So, okay. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. So, first question is, Catherine, what is the meaning of your name?
My name. Okay, I'm not sure what is the meaning of my name, but this name, Catherine, is a very popular name in most of the English novels. My mother was very fond of the name, so she chose to keep that name for me.
Very sweet, very sweet. Okay. And if you get a chance to change your name, what would that be?
I think it is, I would like to officially keep my pet name, what the name that they are calling in my family. My family and my relatives, they call me by the name Kanmani. I would like that to be my official name.
That's sweet. Okay. So next is like, do you hit the snooze button or do you get up on the alarm beep at once?
Depending upon the nature of work that I have for the day. If it is the weekend, obviously it is snooze button. But if I have a lot of work for the day, I will definitely get up.
Okay, so regularly you don't follow a single pattern. You decide on the basis of work. Okay.
Yes,
Nice.
yes.
Okay. How many languages do you speak? Name them.
Just two, English and Tamil, my native tongue.
Nice. That's nice. Okay. So if you travel back in if you travel back in time and you meet a 10-year-old Catherine, what message would you like to give to her?
Enjoy the days that you're growing up because life tends to get tougher as you grow up.
Oh, that's very nice and bubbly side of you. That's nice. And okay, if you are a PM for a day, then what thing you will do first?
Yeah, I know it sounds silly, but I would like to build many libraries.
Oh, that's nice. Even your background is a library, so seems like yeah, it is highly relatable. Thank you so much, Catherine, for such wonderful answers. And we got to know so much about you, and we got to know the fun side of you also. It was really lovely talking to you and know so many things about you. And one thing, any message that you would want to convey to all the viewers of this show ahead?
Okay, if there are people who are preparing for the exam and you feel demotivated at times, do not give up your endeavor because it is a very tough exam. We should understand that this NET JRF is a qualifying examination that happens at a postgraduate level. So most of it's an exam that is taken by postgraduates. So we have already come across 5 years of preparation. So this is a competitive exam. All we need to do is a proper strategy, and even if you fail, it is okay because all the failures are only making you stronger. Just like as I did in my case, in my attempt for JRF, I failed twice, and I almost gave it up. But there came another chance. There is always hope, and when you find the right hope, go with it with full determination and perseverance. When you have that both, when you have the determination and perseverance, then success is surely yours. There is no doubt in that.
Wow, that was really inspiring. So basically, we need to be very consistent, determined to achieve our aim. Nice. So friends, this was the journey of Catherine. I hope आप सब लोगों को बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा और बहुत सारी knowledge मिली होगी. And all the best for your journey also. Let's crack it.